Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by somebody trying to join right in the middle of my intro. We are joined by Sleeping Warrior, Neil, Elijah, Chocolate, Brian's Logic, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good morning, good morning.
Hello, everybody.
Yo, yo.
Good afternoon.
Good morning from a windy New York.
That's just what I need to hear. Lots of windy noise through your mic. No, good to have you all. Welcome. Weekend is long behind us. The excellent session of housekeeping only just happened yesterday, but hopefully we can keep that spirit going throughout the rest of this show. Hello, Discord. Let's see if we can get a bit of life out of you today. Wasn't much from you yesterday.
Hey, how you doing?
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Not from Hacienda Heights.
Might have heard something about it.
You've heard a man who knows a dog, right?
Right, but when you actually trace it back to the person, they will just say, no, we never claimed a geometric horizon, so...
Yeah, even when they're holding up a picture that says this is Earth curved with pictures of the horizon, they'll say, we don't claim that. When you point out that they haven't got a physical horizon, yeah. Very amusing.
Yeah, I don't care what they say. No distance to the horizon measurements. None of those, even though they claim they have distance to the horizon formulas. You guys,
What we
the
could do
audience,
is-
can Google that.
What we could do is we could just teach it all the children, and unless they go to physics at undergrad level at university, they'll never find out that the edge that we perceive, the horizon, isn't actually a physical edge. They'll all believe it, but we'll just teach it to them anyway, even though it's false.
That's exactly what does happen. Were you saying that in irony? Because that's precisely the circumstance that befalls us.
But
then they'll tell us like they were telling us 3 years ago. You guys make up perspective. That's what they were telling us like 3-4 years ago, right? You flat earthers made up perspective, right? All of a sudden this year it's like, oh shit, it's perspective, guys.
Perspective's a dirty word if you're a blurther.
A glurfer? A glurfer?
Yeah, blurther, yeah.
Sorry, a glurfer, as in globe earther, is now glurfer. I like it a lot.
Yeah, blurther, yeah.
I love it. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? Are we spinning? Any evidence thereof?
Now, there's two whirlpools in the sky, Nathan, but if we make them conceptualize that we're on a spinning ball, they'll perceive those two whirlpools in the sky as axial rotation points, even though we never present any evidence of axial rotation. We can just let them think it in a model.
Oh, right, so if I assume travelling south leaves me antipodal on a ball by first assumption, then that's proof that I'm antipodal on a ball when I look at things in the sky that are above me in both instances. I see. Very clever.
We'll not tell them that if they don't assume that, then it's flat.
I see. So to assume that those stars above you, and always above you, are actually below you, you just have to first assume that when you travel south that you're actually travelling to the bottom of a ball, even though there's no evidence or demonstrable facts that prove that on the way.
Yes, you must assume that, Nathan, otherwise it's not a ball, is it?
I see. That's why they always seem to start their conversations with, well, if the Earth's a ball, blah 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 blah. Therefore, the Earth's a ball.
We should start all conversations with if the Earth's flat.
But the Earth is obviously and observably flat. So during my example of travelling south, nothing will indicate that you're doing anything other than travelling across a plane. And if you were flying across it, that's how they'd treat it. And if you're surveying it, that's how it's treated. So it's flat.
No,
it's not like that's an assumption. That's the obvious and observable nature of the reality that faces you.
If you imagine that you're going round a ball, Nathan, then it becomes a ball.
No, it doesn't. I've done it. I've travelled all over the world. It's definitely not presenting itself in any way, shape, or form as ball-like.
What he's telling you is it's not a ball, but you can think of it like a ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I was thinking of it as a ball and travelling over its surface, nothing presented itself as ball-like. It was still obviously and observably flat, even though I literally did think I was on a ball. I actually did think that, and it still didn't present itself in any way, shape, or form as ball-like. At all.
Whoa, you're getting way too logical. Calm down.
It's not
even logic.
A dog shit sandwich.
It's just not logic. Other than you could say, is it modus ponens? If A then B, A therefore B. If it looks flat, it's flat. It looks flat, therefore it's flat. You know, do you know what do you want me to say? It's not logic. It's just like, look how flat it is.
It makes too much sense. It can't work. It's too simple. It has to be all complicated and convoluted.
Well, it can be. If you want to believe you're on a ball, you can make it as complicated as you like, but you'll never see any indication that it's in any way actually ball-shaped. The ground beneath your feet's always flat, obviously and observably so.
Yeah, it's flat. Yeah.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
We can calculate it.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, we'll just assume that the sun's in its physical position and assume that we know its size based on an assumption that Venus is the same size as Earth, and then assume that Earth's a sphere, and we'll make lots of assumptions, calculations, and logically come to the conclusion that based on those assumptions and calculations, the actual position of the sun that's apparent is therefore 93 million miles away.
Okay, so you're going to calculate the distance to the reification of the assumption it's a physical object.
Yes.
Yeah, because it takes 8 minutes or so. Because it takes 8 minutes or so for the light from the sun to get to us, that makes it an apparent position for the sun, which will then calculate its angular size for an apparent position of the sun, and then apply a load of assumptions, and then we know how far away it is. It seems perfectly acceptable to me.
How did you figure out where Venus?
Don't you need the actual size to calculate the angular size or something?
Yeah, you'd need the actual size to triangulate it. Yes, you would. You'd need the actual size. You can't measure something with non-physicality. You know, if it's only apparent, that would be not actual. Then it's not tangible. How are you going to measure something intangible? It's ludicrous. From both sides of the argument, I might add. Flat Earth and Globe Earth, who claim they can measure something that's intangible.
Yeah, it's just as ridiculous when I hear flat earthers saying it's 3,000 and 4,000 miles up. It's like, really?
Yeah, show me your tape measure that got you that distance. Oh, I triangulated it. What, you triangulated something that moves as you move? Wow, that's useful. Body's feeding back. Just leave sleeping warrior. You turn your speakers down. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Doesn't me at all. Wash your mouth out.
Might have been Al Broccoli.
Any scientific evidence of gravity? No, we'll just assume that it's always there, right? We'll never demonstrate that it is there. We'll just assume that it's there, like you assume that the skies are vortices.
What is there?
Gravity.
We'll just assume it.
Yeah, but what is it? What is it that you are assuming is going to be
let him
there?
define it. Hold on. Let him define it. Go ahead, sleeping warrior.
We don't know. Next question.
No, we do. It's the uneven distribution of mass in a model causing the bending of space-time. That's what it is, Arwin.
Nathan, I was citing Neil deGrasse Tyson.
The greatest gravity quote ever. Go ahead, Sleeper Warrior. What's gravity, Sleeper Warrior?
Oh, there's quite a few definitions that I like. I like the one that's fresh out of Einstein's mouth himself. He says that gravity is, quote, the effect of the curvature of space-time caused by the uneven distribution of mass, end of quote. However, we all know that mass has no direction or magnitude, so it has no vector. So how we don't quite understand how it causes the distortion of space-time, but that's what it's defined as. But ball-earthers just don't like it.
Well, I have something to say on that.
Oh,
Sorry, 1 second. Einstein never defined what he meant by effect or by mass. Never.
Well, thankfully, we don't need Einstein to define effect. We know what the effect means.
1 second. Everybody after him has decided what he meant by effect and by mass. That's very important.
in
Brian, you're a
layman's
bit quiet, mate.
terms,
Go on, Elijah, because you're causing feedback. Go ahead.
in layman's terms, there's only two ways to think about it. Either it's the mass of an object that is attracting things, or it's the mass of an object that's causing a bending or warping of space-time to attract things together. But either way, it's a sphere.
Well, it's classified as the latter, but I rumpus the quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson, Anthony.
Sorry, the quote by Neil deGrasse Tyson was, "We don't know. Next question."
That's the best.
What's gravity, Mr. deGrasse Tyson? Quote, "We don't know. Next question." End quote. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
When did he say that?
I remember him saying it. He did it in an interview. It's on
That
YouTube.
was a while ago. Yeah, he said that clearly.
In a proper formal interview too.
Yeah, it was to that girl, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was a girl. I thought it was a guy. Maybe it was a guy. Maybe it
was
doesn't
a girl.
matter.
Joe
He said it.
Girl.
But if they don't know what it is, then how do they know it's there?
They don't.
was
That
the
was
one where he
Arwen's
said-
point. Yeah, good point, Arwen. I lost track there. Say that again, Arwen.
Well, if they don't know what it is, then how do they know it's there?
They don't.
But it has to be there. It's there. They know it's there because it has to be there.
In their model.
Indications point to it.
Has to be there in their model. Well, in reality, not. Arwen's talking about physics and physical reality, right, Arwen?
I like to think so, yeah.
So not has to be there in a model. Who cares? In reality, we don't see it. It's not in existence. You can't bend time.
Actually, it will say Radio Talk from What is Gravity Star Talk from Star Talk radio show. And the lady asked her, "What is gravity?" And she said, "I have no idea." Next question.
That's
That's
nuts.
kind of funny. 'Cause
Just pulled it.
in a later interview, when I believe he was talking to Joe Rogan, he was telling him how, but we know what gravity is because we were able to land rovers in the middle of a crater on Mars.
Yep.
So
No, they
he
don't.
went from we don't know next question to, oh, this thing that we've already done, we know what it is because we've done this thing.
Well, maybe he
what
just
didn't
temporarily
follow up-
forgot.
Didn't he follow up not knowing what it is with we know what it does?
Yes.
Nobody
Yep.
defines it better.
Yeah, but that's wrong because does implies it's doing some sort of work, physicality, right? If it does something, then you can see it doing it. Well, no, you can't see the uneven distribution of mass bending a conceptual medium of space-time. That cannot do anything. So, no, it doesn't do anything. It might be described as doing something in your model, but in reality, back to Arwen's point, if you can't see it, then it's not an effect. Well, they claim it's an effect, and it only exists in their model.
Well,
But you can
they
see the
don't
effect
even-
they claim.
not even the effect. It's like they don't know what it is. So if you don't know what it is, then how do you know it's there? That's like a fundamental logic question.
Yeah,
Like-
and furthermore, how can you attribute cause to it? I don't know what it is, but I know what causes it and what it does. Well, if you don't know what it is and you can't see it and you can't qualify it and it hasn't got any physicality, how can you A, know what it is, and B, know what caused it if you don't even know what it is you're looking at? So gravity is just a complete load of nonsense.
But the effects of gravity are all around us. When you drop your phone, it falls to the floor. So there is the observed effect. All you have to do is believe that is because of something that you've never seen manipulated. You can't find. Nobody else can find. Nobody knows what it is, but the effect is there.
Hold on, I just dropped my phone, which was fortunately and coincidentally tied to a helium balloon, and it didn't go down, it went up.
Well, that must be also gravity as well.
That's also gravity. What, when it went up? Okay.
That's just details.
Hold on, my kettle's just boiled. Oh, what's all that steam doing on the ceiling? What's going on?
Also gravity.
Also gravity, my bad. The gas went up, down, go boom, boom, to the ceiling. Go boom, boom. Okay, I'm clear. We're all done. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No.
Or globebusters.
I guess that's an answer right there. Just complete silence.
Any Globers in Discord have any viable hypothesis? If any of this correct? Alrighty then.
No, clearly
Tumbleweeds.
not. Tumbleweeds. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
Black Swan.
Quick correction for Gourdzilla37 from the super chat. I'm going back to believing in the globe. Ignorance is so blissful. Yeah, unfortunately, like Cypher in the Matrix, once you've taken the red pill, you can't untake it. So it's not like you can just forget that the whole thing's based on presupposition and philosophical models. You can't just forget that, Gord. Sorry, but thank you for the super chat. Really do appreciate it.
Well,
you can only...
I disagree, Nathan. You can forget.
Unless he makes a deal with an agent. Unless he makes a deal with an agent to be placed back into the Matrix and have his mind swiped.
We don't know if that's even possible. That didn't happen. So he sat in the Matrix making the deal with the agent and said, no, he didn't actually, he said it to Trinity, why, oh why didn't I take the blue pill? So you can sit and contemplate the alternative choice you didn't make, but you can't turn back time. So once you find out, this is the problem that I think a lot of our competition, the people on the globe side, have. Once you take the pill, you can't untake it, right? Now, they've also taken the pill. Now, it doesn't matter that they don't agree with what they now see. You know, you can use the They Live sunglasses as the same sort of analogy. Once you've put the glasses on, you go, oh my God, it's all lies. You quickly take them off again. But does that mean that you suddenly forget? No, of course not. Right? The black guy fighting with Roddy Piper, right? They're on the floor and he forces the glasses onto the big, is he bald? The big black bald guy? And the guy suddenly sees and he can't believe his eyes. Now, from that moment on, Roddy Piper knows that the second he forces the guy to see through those glasses, he's got two choices. He can live in cognitive dissonance, deny what he's seen, and that's what our opponents do. You know, I've referenced this so many times, but through projection, Conspiracy Cats described the unbelievable pain that you would have to feel if you were to realise that the Earth was flat and you'd been lied to. All the other things that you would have to contemplate. Now, little did he realise that he's actually describing his own feelings and emotions towards the situation while he simultaneously lives in the painful nature of cognitive dissonance, holding two positions as being true at the same time. And they can't possibly be. We're not on a sphere. So they come here to affirm their bias, but they've already taken the pill. So all they can really sit and do around is go, I wish I'd never come across this flat earth information, because then I would be blue pill total ignorance like most of the rest of the Western world that they see around them, who don't care and still think they live on a sphere like they want to. They want to still believe, but they know they can't.
Well, I know someone who can get them out of it and get them back to their globe reality.
Now, the keymaker dies as well. Oh, sorry, I'm ruining your point with a joke. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
I'll say something after your joke then. No,
I was just going to say the
that-
Keymaker also died, so you can't pin any hopes on that. I was going to shout out a super chat, which was the main reason for my interrupting you. Shout out again to Godzilla. He says, with the use of a large hammer, I can. What, to the skull? Yes, I assume that's what you're implying, Godzilla. Well, you knock yourself out. Boom. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, no, all he has to do is contact Jose Gonzalez. He knows how to forget about Flat Earth. Just contact Jose. He knows. He has the contacts. He's able to get. He got himself out of it. He got back to his globe reality. Just contact Jose.
He's just running around like Cypher's, just still mad, stuck in the real world. Wow.
No, but you can stay out of it by making sure you don't get confronted with the information that makes you think about why it's a lie again. But the most ballers, you constantly come back every day to spout out, it's all fake, yet that doesn't actually work. You'd have to move on with your life and then just forget about it slowly.
Yeah, but you won't.
But do you really want to? That's the bigger question, do they really want to inside?
I think you can suppress it, but that's also mentally dangerous. It's no different to when people are like, I don't know, somebody's talking about some woman and their daddy issues and how they shouldn't suppress those emotions because it will leave them damaged later on in life, blah, 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 blah. This is no different, right? Suppression of your globe issues isn't going to help you. It's going to make matters worse for these. So yeah, you can go away like I would suggest. You can take his advice and eventually you might just about forget about it. Nah, suppressing these what would we call them? New understandings. Now you might be in denial of them, but they're still there, whether you like them or not. And that's why we face so much vitriol. It's all projection. That's how they're feeling. When they call us cult members, the same thing applies. It's just projection. Yeah, you're paying Fundies.
You can forget it for a very long time, But yeah, if you're constantly hanging around on the internet, that doesn't exactly help.
They're looking for confirmation bias in the negative, so they want us to be proven wrong. Someone to come along with a silver bullet that actually proves their ionosphere, because how could it not be? The Western world all thinks it, and I still think it, so how could you be the case? I've got to come along and find that magical silver bullet. They won't. Black Swan, baby. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
Well, there's this little device called a seismograph, and from the seismograph we can interpret that P waves and S waves, beyond any doubt whatsoever, prove that we're on a sphere, because we wouldn't get them any other way.
Get what? Any
P
other
waves
way?
and S waves, the squiggles.
Yeah, but the squiggles are representative of things that they're scanning, are they not?
Oh, you just don't understand, Nathan.
Yeah, but the readout of the squiggles with the P waves and S waves, when attempting to physically confirm whether the predictions were correct, never worked out. So it's a nice concept that you would be able to actually get that right at some point, but there's no proof that you can actually get that right as of this point. So it's not proof yet. It might be proof in the future if you were able to perfect it.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Somebody sent me a link yesterday to a video that was 12 months old, and it was a guy say, I think it was something like respect your intellect or similar, and he was describing how basically gas pressure can form in a vacuum without any other like mechanism other than just itself, its own existence. And basically, in short, his argument was that you get two gas molecules that get close to each other, and then they become statically attracted to each other, and then a third one comes to it, and then a fourth one comes to it, and it starts creating its own gravitational force. Literally, that's how he described it, and I was like, oh my god. It's brilliant.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container, given that a lot of people think the sky is a vacuum and that we've somehow developed and maintained gas pressure here without a container?
No, the only way you could ever even model it is by creating a incomplete inconsistent just so story, because every time you factually address the concept in any sort of fashion, it always turns out it's an absolute impossibility in every way conceivable. Only sloppy just so stories can make you temporarily believe it's a possibility.
Possibility to have gas pressure without a container? Yeah, it isn't a possibility. You're right. Any more for any more? If not, that concludes housekeeping.
Wow.
What's the wow? What was the wow?
It's just that it went pretty quick today. I mean, it's 2:25 and we've completed housekeeping, and that's the best arguments that I can think of that they come up with. No science, though.
Yeah, but beyond the housekeeping, if you a regular Fundy Globe head watching the show, you kind of hear white noise when the housekeeping questions come on. And then, you know, after the fact, once you've ignored all of that, suppressed it, you can then do things like point to the picture of the horizon from a high altitude balloon and ask, well, how do you explain this, flat earthers? Not realising that little hesitation I put in for dramatic effect was them suddenly half contemplating that they don't have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon anymore. This thing on screen has no physicality. That line isn't physical. It's an apparent location, where in this instance, the clouds meet the sky. Well, neither of those two things have any physicality. So what's meeting what now? Well, nothing's meeting anything. It's a not actual location. It's non-physical. But yeah, you could put this line through a curve calculator and claim how much the clouds are blocking things in the distance, right? No, it's non-physical on the ground too. The fact that you do have actual physical ground doesn't mean that the horizon represents a hill in the near foreground, Earth curve, blocking things in the distance. It's absolutely absurd. The horizon's not a physical location. Doesn't matter how high you go, it suddenly doesn't become physical. The black swan isn't overcome with altitude. It's absurd.
Yeah, there's the question: how do you explain my globe bias belief on your flat Earth? There's always some nonsense there. People are expecting you to explain that's purely based in a globe model.
Yeah, they've got a expansion from a philosophy, and that expansion has been explained and taught as a model. But then many, if not most, of the Western world has taken that as read and reified it into existence. And from there, it doesn't require any real interjection from any powers that should not be. It's self-perpetuating. People will continue to make memes about globes and talk about how things operate globally. It's part of the language now. So it's self-fulfilling in terms of the indoctrination now. It's not the case that if you see a subliminal globe dropped into a South Park episode, they've put that there because they necessarily want to keep you indoctrinated with the idea of being on a sphere. It's just part of our general Western world. That's part of what we have, a globe belief. It's just ingrained. The problem is that I don't think it's been around long enough to be permanently ingrained, and there's a lot of us right now on this panel who say, well, there's no evidence of it. It's just a philosophy, it's just a model, and we don't live on models. So whether or not this globe idea actually takes root into the consciousness of people, I think is unlikely. The fact that it's been attempted by whoever and whenever to do exactly that, I think is just going to show its failings as time progresses, because it's so untenable as an idea. And absurd. The idea of people hanging off the bottom of something below me, with their sky below me, it's utterly ridiculous. How it's got this far, I don't know.
Every day I see it more and more, like new people will come into 24/7 Discord, and yeah, we get our fair trolls over there, and just the diehard staunch zealots, but more and more people just show up like, yeah, this is very interesting, and yeah, these things I'm being told don't make sense to me. I mean, people think this is something that's just, going to go away. It's not going away, guys. People are waking up to this nonsense, to this magical spinning water ball that has no empirical evidence. People are waking up to it.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
So,
Joey Rocha made a really interesting point a couple of days ago on one of his videos. He kept it short and sweet as well. Check it out. Joey Rocha's channel. He was pointing out that there's... I'll ask the question first. Have you all heard of, or are you aware of, something called the Streisand effect?
Yeah, that was to do with her trying to sell a house, wasn't it? And she wanted privacy, so she demanded certain pictures get removed. And what everybody then did was went and took the pictures that she couldn't get removed to make the problem even worse for her.
Pretty much. She just had somebody take pictures of the famous, and one of them was her house, and it got published online and had been downloaded. I'll have to be correct if I'm wrong, but I think it was 8 times it had been downloaded off this website, the image. So it's just a downloadable file of a picture of Barbara Streisand's house. And like I say, about 8 people got hold of it, but she took umbrage to it and sued and for its removal. Now, as a byproduct, it was downloaded millions of times and published, just countless times because she tried to suppress it, and only because she tried to suppress it. Now, what is it? It's probably 18 months, maybe even 2 years since the American state senate or whoever it was literally sat in front of YouTube executives and said, what are you going to do to suppress this flat earth thing? And they went, we're going to stop recommending it and put a little note underneath saying earth isn't flat. And they went, okay, that'll do. Good enough suppression for us. And it was really off. They published it. They literally showed videography of them saying it, the questions and answers and what they were going to do. They published it and told us, this is what we're censoring. It's like, that is going to be subject to the Streisand effect then. And in recent times, I don't know if Joe Rocha has made the connection I'm now making, but it's like, yeah, you've got people telling us all the time about others who've come to seemingly from nowhere this subject. Well, if it's being suppressed, that's supposed to stop that happening, isn't it? Isn't that the point of censorship? Well, if more people are coming in and it's expanding out, clearly it's not been successful censorship. It's actually been subject to the Streisand effect. So, unlucky. On that note,
a lot of the people that'll come in are kids that are like high school kids that'll come in and say, but my friends are talking about this in school. All my friends are talking about this, or, my friend sent me this, the link for this server. They're all talking about it. And even though sometimes, they might come in like 3 or 4 trolls at a time, 1 or 2 of them might say, hey, this actually makes sense. So
exactly.
As far as the kids, like, it's getting to the kids, man. They're starting to wake up, which I think is a beautiful thing, man.
And the only thing
you know what?
I wanted to use, sorry, just to interrupt, I wanted to use it as a segue to thank my audience, because for the last 18 months, since that was made overtly obvious, I've encouraged my audience more so to share the show. I say it in chat, I say it during the beginning and the outro, etc., etc., etc. I'm constantly plugging the idea of sharing the show on Facebook and Twitter, because obviously, yeah, it's great to say, oh, well, actually, the Streisand effect, well, on the flip side of that, no, we are actually being suppressed in some form or another. So without people sharing the show, but I think the reason for what is now being described by Joey Rocha with the Streisand effect is as a direct consequence of that one guy or girl that's gone, okay, I'll stick it on Facebook. And they do. And that means that exposes it to their circle of friends and so on and so forth. Now, without it being part of the algorithm and part of the recommendations, how else am I growing? Well, I know that's the only way I'm growing. I know that's the only way the show's reaching people. It's thanks to you. I'm pointing right now at you, the audience, who shared the show. It's thanks to you. That's why we're discussing this right now. Because if you hadn't, if you'd have gone, I'm sure someone else will share it. Well, maybe not, because everyone else will take the same attitude. But they haven't. People have shared the show on Facebook and Twitter. I know they have. I can see it in my stats. I can see where people come from. So I know people are sharing the show. And without them, the show would be going nowhere. So I should be and am eternally grateful to the people who are actually watching. Because they're the ones who make the show possible, right? They're the ones that make it what it is. As much as I can thank my Patreons on every start of every show financially, obviously they're critical to me. But really, the overall audience and the fact they hit the share button is what makes the show grow. So yeah, big shout out to all of you who do actually hit the share button when I pester you. And my apologies to all who get annoyed because I constantly pester you to share the show. So Streisand effect. Anybody want to take up the reins on that little subject matter?
I would just add that I think it's pretty significant. Sorry, man. real quick. I think it's pretty significant that they have to talk about this in some type of congressional meeting. Like, it's that serious that you have to talk about suppressing this? Why is it that serious? I thought we were just a bunch of crazies just running around saying blah, blah, blah. But apparently that's not the case.
Big shout out to Flat Earth Data. This is just shared on Facebook, Twitter, and Parler. Also share on MySpace and Bebo. Go on, Brian.
MySpace.
Yeah, well, the thing about it is that when it first turned up 5 years ago, let's say 5-6 years ago, it was like shocking for a moment, because there wasn't just like someone said it might be flat. They came out with a load of reasons why it is, and then it was kind of laughed at, and then it was attacked. But now it's like people have kind of gotten in. People hear it a lot more. They become more comfortable with it. And they're kind of going, well, it looks flat to me. You know what I mean? And to some guy say to his wife's going, no, I don't know about that. And then, look, eventually she says to herself, well, I didn't see any curve on that flight from Denver to wherever. You know, so bit by bit by bit, it's just like, you can try and, why are they trying to hold it back? What's the big deal? If it's not flat, why are you worried about it? And it's like, you know, ordinary people who are at home on YouTube are, you know, and that are like they are eventually just kind of becoming more comfortable with the idea. So it's like people just have to be comfortable with it, just accepting it.
Well, that's something I've suspected, that, you know, this is a soft release. In other words, the pushback is only so it doesn't grow too quickly. In other words, people are going to find out eventually. They already have, and the numbers are growing. Therefore, you can't let the floodgates open, because suddenly that will cause a lot of cognitive dissonance all at once in a mass of people who might want to aim their cognitive pain towards powers that should not be, that may or may not be to blame. Well, you don't want to risk that. So better to have it released slowly and let people, as you call it, get comfortable with the idea first, or that it's even a subject first. You know, I saw Spurs Chemo release a clip of a game show where they have it as a question: how would you react if your girlfriend told you that the earth was flat? And the first person asked was like, well, I'd hope that the man just agreed with me. And then they go on to give, you know, any agreement with the subject matter as a bad answer. And eventually no, I'd disagree, and tell them they're an idiot. Cha-ching, good answer. You know, it's just part of the programming. Yeah. But by the same token, while Spurs is pointing out that, look how they program us, bad answer equals flat earth good, good answer equals flat earth an idiot. Well, yeah, but it's on the game show, softening up the people to the idea, Spurs. Not that you pointed that out in your point, and it isn't your point, it's mine. It's still on the game show. So there's potentially plenty of people watching that game show who've never even heard the words flat earth, said positive or negative. The fact that it was 2/3 negative, 1/3 positive, with the first reaction being, well, I hope they just agree. You know, it's like, well, that's at least got some balance to the presentation. And now the subject matter is definitely a part of someone's cognition that it wasn't before. Well, that's positive.
Yep. That's awesome.
Shout out to Spurs Chemo. His channel's called Under No Pressure, and also Joey Rocha for giving me the idea to talk about the Streisand effect, which is extremely interesting. Suppression of something that you potentially could have just let lie and have it have no effect. By suppression, you end up exposing it to more people because they're like, oh, what's that being suppressed for? Go on, whoever it was in Discord. Albraculia. RB 1985. Did you want to add something? Or Redman? I'm just seeing loads of people with that. Go ahead. Go ahead, Albraculia.
Yeah, I don't think it was good. Sorry, if I went. Like I said, I apologize. I don't think I didn't want to say anything.
No, fair enough. I'm glad Flatsoid's come. Let's just wait till he's in. Hey, Flatsoid, I'm glad you've come. We were just talking about people who've turned, and Chocolate's advice was to go and see Jose J.G. Gonzalez to get advice on how you can just take the blue pill after taking the red pill. And I know that you've had some interactions with somebody who's of a similar ilk, feels they can turn back time, take the blue pill.
Hey.
Go on.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, STST. Well, I've been calling him out that he wasn't really a flat earther from the beginning. I mean, if you really come to the truth, you're not going to go back to the global lie. It just doesn't make any sense. If you understand what I'm saying. I mean, if you're going to figure out what the truth is, why will you discard the truth and go back to the nonsense that can't be proven?
So you're saying wasn't a flat earther to begin with, has just utilised that position to advantage himself on YouTube, maybe? What's your opinion?
Yeah.
Because obviously you can't divine his thoughts.
Yeah, look, he even knows. I tell him straight that he did it for publicity, for views. I mean, it's easy to just play flat earther. I mean, even if you look at his content from the beginning, his flat earth content was atrocious, was useless. Just, oh, look, I'm looking at the sky. The sun's moving across. Okay, so the earth is flat. Now he's got a whole production and everything going on since he's become a glober, understand? And now he's just bragging about all his views and his subscriptions and everything, and oh, how great Katz is and Simon Dan and stuff the whole time, you know? And just the type of words he spews out, like, you and your pizza planet. You tell me one flat earther that's ever said pizza planet.
I say it in reference to globe earthers who scorn us. So I would say words to the effect of, when do we ever say that a boat would fall off the edge of a pizza planet or pizza pie?
I thought it was Slice Barcane that said that.
Slice Barcane.
Oh,
Slice. Boom boom.
Man.
That's dire, but very good.
Cheesy.
Dad jokes. Right, shout out to Al Junkie. I only take the red pill prescribed by Dr. John D. He's not a medical doctor. Don't take anything that he prescribes you.
Hey, on
Some
top
people
of the
need certain
suppression,
pieces squared away.
Oh my God, that's dire.
Good one.
I was going to say, on top of the suppression, to me, a big factor in this is the response, not just the suppression. Because if this was, I mean, I've said it before. If it was a ball, it would just be a ball. It would be self-evident. We wouldn't need to even talk about it, right? But the fact that these people have decided to step up and become the guardians of their little galaxy and defend their globe model, I think that's almost as big as the suppression as far as how devastating this topic is to the current narrative. Because
I mean, if you...
what would force them to do this, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're honest with yourself, you're definitely not going to turn back to the globe. You can't tell me one surface. If you're honest, you're literally going to go back to a conceptual, being conceptual that's unproven, and then just go and spew nonsense about making fun of flat earth after you were claimed to be a flat earther.
Oh, I would. I could and would, if you gave me answers to all the housekeeping questions, which are based on the fundamental premises of the globe claim. So if somebody gave me answers to all those questions, you know, where do we get the R value? Where do we see a physical geometric sphere edge obstruction for boats and buildings? The problem is that none of these things are ever going to be provided. In other words, from my vantage point, looking over my position, I go, well, if someone came along and offered me all those things, which as it stands I see as an impossibility, then I'd believe I was on a globe because I would be on a globe. But we're not. So how are we supposed to provide physical geometric sphere edge like a hill in the way of something in the distance? That's what they need. And we just don't have that. So, you know, I would go back if we were on a globe, because it wouldn't be going back, it would be obviously and observably a globe. It just isn't.
Yeah, that's... I mean, I don't know if you've seen Simon Dan's latest podcast.
I don't think
they're moaning about the same questions that we have, and then I'm telling them, why you haven't even answered the previous arguments. How do you expect us to make more arguments? It's
right.
It's just their way of running
I
away.
don't think none of us will be flat earthers if they have answers and actual demonstrations of what they claim, right?
Well, we just want to be shown that we're actually on a globe physically, rather than being told, well, Earth curve only exists in the maths. It's like, that's what they're telling us. So you want me to go back on being a globe head, do you? Okay, well, don't tell me that Earth curve only exists in the maths, as Rumpus did, because that's not going to get me back on a globe. I mean, if you guys want to do what you expect me to do for you, which is they expect me to convince them of a flat Earth, and I don't care. I'm not interested in convincing anybody of anything. I haven't got the time or effort or inclination to do so. But if they want the same in reverse, they want to convince me to be on a ball, then don't tell me Earth curve only exists in the maths. Because then Earth curve only exists in the maths, right? It doesn't exist in physical reality. That's what they're telling me. Yeah, very convincing. That's going to put me back on a ball quick sharp, isn't it? No.
The only thing that's going to get me back on a ball is if they can show me gravity overcoming entropy.
Yeah, prove space is real. All your bloody videos and films and story time, Jack and Ori, that you expect us to believe on TV screens, if you expect us to believe them, don't have it all taking place in Narnia. Don't have it taking place in a reality that can't exist, i.e. sky vacuum, space, outer space. If you're going to have your narrative come from a fake place, don't expect me to suspend disbelief about it. I can't! You're expecting me to believe it as my reality, not suspend disbelief that we can have pressure here with a sky vacuum called outer space, because that's absurd!
Yep, and even space.com apparently is trying to help you guys out. Trying to tell you guys, well, don't appeal to the evidence and arguments. That's not what this is about. This is about trust. Oh, so you guys got to appeal to our trust? Well, it doesn't help our trust in you guys very much if you want to come here and tell us nobody claims that the horizon is the Earth curve. Literally at the same time while presenting horizons as Earth curve. How am I supposed to trust you? Because that just makes you look like a crazy person.
Yeah, who was it that said that?
Right.
Who was it that said about gaining trust? Because that's spoken like a true cult leader. Don't worry about proving our philosophy real. Worry about gaining the next cult follower's trust.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing about it. You see, it's kind of a respect my authority type of thing, where they just say, look, trust that we have the science. The scientists know. It's that kind of an attitude. Trust that it's there. They already know all this. It's that people who are saying it's not a globe, they just don't understand that it is a globe. That's basically what they're saying to people. You know, rather than saying to us that we don't understand.
The thing that irritates me is we have to school them on their own rhetoric, and then they come and tell us we don't understand.
And what is the synonym for trust?
Can you repeat that? What is the what for trust?
Synonyms?
Believe.
Belief? Is that what you're looking for?
Believe and faith. Believe and faith.
Yeah.
I put one in Skype for you, the page of that article, Nathan. Master B.
But my point being is they're not even saying to us, it's not even that they're saying to us, you don't understand. They're telling other people that we don't understand. And this is what it's like. The science is already there. It's already been proven. It's proven with a long, long time. These people don't understand. But they can't, but at the same time, publicly, they can't call us stupid because we don't prove to be so. So they say, oh, they're not stupid people, but they just don't understand. No, and this is what this is at the present. This is at present how they're trying to push it on the public.
Brian, it's like me telling you you're stupid, but you're not stupid.
I've got your arguing from evidence, specifically a reference to the globe on screen, Chocolate.
Yeah, so this is from that article, How to Debate Flat Earthers, from space.com. And after the entire article of going through what is supposed to be evidence and proof for this magical spinning water ball we're supposed to live on, the last section of this is called Arguing from Evidence, and the author says, however, I don't think this discussion is really about the actual evidence or the scientific process. People who believe that the Earth is flat aren't coming to that conclusion from the same types of observations They instead believe that we are being misled and lied to. That scientists, including me, want you to believe the Earth is round despite its flatness. Found that very cute. So the question isn't why do people believe in a flat Earth, but rather why do people believe in a conspiracy? And the answer is the same reason it always is: a lack of trust.
Don't you think it's amazing now that the latest argument is they're pushing thermodynamics as a conspiracy?
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Just descriptions. They're not conspiracy theories. They're just descriptions.
Yeah, but you see, they have to say it's a conspiracy now because if it debunks the globe, they have to try and demean it somehow.
If it debunks their globe, it must be. It must be
because they say they, and I use that term with air quotes. They say, "Oh, if we follow the scientific method so rigidly, then the second law of thermodynamics can't be used." It's a fucking law of nature. Get that through your heads. Don't misrepresent my family ever again. Thank you very much. Please, no one say any more. Sorry.
Yeah, well, that we discussed that on Ballbusters. It's because they've convoluted a natural law, a description of something that occurs in nature always, with something scientific. So they call it a scientific law. So that when they then describe something causally, they can attribute the word science to it as though it's in the same bracket. So they say, well, my science for my astrophysicist friend here is as follows, and they list off their description and just so story for something they've observed, potentially a phenomena in the sky, but they give you a causal relationship which they haven't established with science, but they call it science. Well, when it comes to actually attributing a description to something that occurs always, that's not establishing cause. There's no asserted cause of the second law of thermodynamics. It's merely a description of something that occurs in nature. Well, you don't have descriptions being conspiratorial when it's merely something that applies always. You can't violate the second law of thermodynamics. It's just a description of something that is always happening. Entropy increase in this instance. You show me not increase. Now, what is the thing that's not increasing? What, my description? Well, no, because that's a reification of the thing that is being described in nature, as in it actually happens always. That's why it's got so lofty a term, law.
Yeah, there was never a reason to try to prove it because it was so evidently obvious.
Exactly, occurring always.
Exactly. Just to the public out there, anyone who's listening to this live or at any time after this, can you find anyone in your life who told you, who asked you for trust and asked you, did you trust them, that you ended up being able to actually trust that person? Anyone in my life history who asked me for trust and asked me to trust them, they were the very people you could never trust. Because someone who's looking for your trust is someone who has no intention of keeping it.
Trust me, I'm a con man. Wink, wink.
Yeah, these things, these concepts like trust, love, things that aren't tangible, right? Like, but like physical, but you know, it comes from elsewhere. You can't ask for that. You only find that you do trust someone based on how things led up into that point, and your assessment of how things led up into that point.
Correct.
And you assess whether you trust them or not.
Correct, but what they can get out of people, and I think it was you that described this, Eli, it's the understanding. Well, what does that mean? It means that you are supportive, if you want to use a different word, of the position that is being described to you. You stand under that description. In this instance, you stand under the position asserted that we are on physically, the model, the philosophy. So you stand under that notion. And that's really what's described in this. You know, they're describing how we don't understand. No, we don't. We don't understand how you can have gas pressure without a container. These are the things we don't understand because they're not understandable. We can't stand under the idea of having a sky vacuum or having a non-physical physical horizon that isn't capable of measurement but simultaneously derives an R value to move its physicality. You know, none of these things are capable of being stood under. They're untenable as opposed to understandable, but they want you to understand them anyway. And the people they're fighting against are literally and figuratively, accurately, if you will, described by their description of us not understanding. Well, no. Make us understand how you can have gas pressure without a container, how you can derive an R value from a non-physical horizon. You explain that so it's understandable and I'll understand it. It just isn't.
That's the funny thing. You come to an understanding. You can't be told to understand something. Like, you come to that understanding based on a few logical steps.
Or you can be told and ridiculed if you don't. Well, these are the bad people because they don't understand. Or in many more accurate ways, described as they don't agree. I'd say it's like this, and they don't agree. That's really what it comes down to. And it's not because we're just belligerent, it's because it's not something to be understood. In fact, it's riddled with contradictions. You know, you can't tell us that you don't have, and nobody claims there's a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon, and simultaneously hold up a picture that says, this is Earth curve. You know, how is that understandable? A contradiction's not understandable. That's the problem. So we're never going to understand if it's complete nonsense.
Yeah, it's like me taking a hammer and hitting you over the head and saying, don't worry, it won't hurt the next time I hit you, and I hit you over the head again, and you're going to keep on believing me. That's exactly how the globers are.
Exactly. Well, I've experienced it hurting. Yeah, but you don't understand. I'm saying it won't next time. Clonk. I experienced it hurting. Yeah, but you don't understand what I'm saying. Yeah, but what you're saying doesn't match reality. Any more to add? With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who shared the show, smashed the super chat, commented, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley once again. Stay tuned if you're watching on a programming stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!